Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Thank you so very much for joining today's intermediate teams training session. We have a couple people on the line, so we'll go ahead and kick things off and get started since it's 1 o'clock here Eastern Standard Time. My name's Roxy. I am going to be your facilitator this afternoon, going through the actual training with you. I am joined by a couple of my colleagues who I will give the opportunity to introduce themselves now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marvin Rutia. I support the customer success unit with these training sessions. I will be moderating the Q&A section of these training. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A. We'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Thank you.
Greetings all, this is Bonnie Jones. I'm a customer success manager up here of Roxy's, and our role is really to help you drive out adoption. So I cover several accounts, including HHS, National Institute of Health, and CDC. And as Marvin said, we're glad to help you throughout the course of the chat, provide some color and direction on use cases, etc. So please feel free to make this a real interactive session. Put your questions in, and it'll help us keep the conversation going. Thanks.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, Bonnie. Like these lovely two mentioned, I am also a part of our customer success unit, and our goal is to focus on driving out the adoption of Microsoft Teams and making sure that organizations understand how to use it to make their mission examples best successful. So that is our introduction, and we'll go ahead and get started and run through what today's training is going to focus on. So today's training is going to be an intermediate session. We are not going to focus on Teams fundamentals. What we are going to talk more about are different features and different collaborative measures that you can take within the tool to make you more successful and a bit more advanced in how you use the product. So we will have time for Q&A. We will have time at the end for you to be able to ask any questions and to go through certain questions that you may ask that I don't get to cover up front in the training. So feel free to drop any of those in our question area, and then Marvin will let me know, and Bonnie and I will be able to answer them accordingly or demo them accordingly. Oh, what's going on my laptop? Apologies for my technical difficulties. Okay, some of the topics that we're going to cover today we are going to cover why it's important, or some best practices around at mentioning teams and at mentioning channels. some things around replying to threads versus creating new messages, just best practices there. Search filtering to make sure that you're more advanced in how you search things and how you filter for things. How to get a little bit more ahead with creating codes for private teams. Differences between announcements and just posting regularly. Sometimes I call that a backslash, but our kind of slash command function and why that's important and how it can help you be helpful. Some keyboard shortcuts. Hopefully we get to them. Explaining some of the differences between Exchange Online and Teams and how Outlook and Teams work together in terms of the integration. We'll talk a little bit more about file storage and just diving a bit deeper there on the file storage capabilities and the differences between SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. We'll talk more about applications, specifically the Microsoft applications, how you can leverage them, surfacing different SharePoint Online applications. We'll talk a little bit, just a tad bit on channel emojis and how that might lighten up the mood. And then we will go into Q&A at the end. So if you just give me 1 second, I'm going to switch over to the actual demo. Okay, we're just going to bring it up. Alrighty, wonderful. So now I've got our Teams application up in the web browser. So understanding that it may look a bit different for some of you guys who are on the thick client, but I'm going to stay in our web browser today. So some things that are really, really important, some best practices around how you kind of get the best use out of Teams and how you can really, really maximizing your message and just the collaboration around Teams are really just at mentioning and what the differences are between mentioning a channel, an individual person, and posting an announcement versus regular posts. So when you're posting within a channel or interacting within Teams in general, the recommended best practice behavior is really around at mentioning. So today I am gonna get started in our COVID-19 task force channel. And I want to post a new post. So I'm going to make sure that I actually, in this case, at mention the group. Or I can at mention, pardon me, the team. Say, welcome back, everyone. So in this case, I am posting a new thread and I'm going to at mention the group. And the reason why that's important is typically when you're posting within a Teams channel or when you're posting within a team, a chat or anything like that, depending on the way that people have their notifications set up, they may or may not always receive your notification that you have at mentioned or that there's conversation going on in the group. For example, if you look at my work from home water cooler group, or you look at the actual finance group here you can see these tabs are bolded, meaning that there's activity going on in those channels that I am missing out on that I haven't looked at yet. And this is the way that I have my notifications set up. So typically, because those things are bolded, that lets me know that there is something going on in terms of conversation or files been added or something is there. But you see in my activity, I don't have a notification. And that's because of the way that my notifications have been set up, or just possibly the way that I've designed Teams for myself to leverage the way that I want to work. So when you at mention different groups, anybody within this team site will receive a notification within their activity because the team has been at mentioned. So that's why it's really, really, really important here to make sure that you're at mentioning as a best practice, whether that's the individual or the team itself, because you want to make sure that people see the activity and see the notification going on here. So another another good thing to note there too, see here, if you look at my chat, I'm collaborating with an external entity that does not work at my organization, which is why it says guest. And you see that they @mentioned me, meaning that I got that notification to let me know that, hey, somebody is trying to get a hold of you or there is something going on. And it takes me directly to where I was @mentioned. So here you can see Roxanne mentioned me and saying thank you for the updates, and I got that notification. But should Roxanne have just, I'm going to do it now, I'm going to show you the difference, have just messaged me regularly, I may or may not have received a notification depending on how I have it set up. So that's a really, really good and key best practice here to make sure that you're mentioning people when you're collaborating within teams. Now, when you think about posting regularly, here you can see I posted regularly in the channel. Sometimes you may or may not want to post different messages depending on the types of things that you're trying to post. So here you can see right above me, there's an announcement that went out. And a lot of people ask, well, hey, where are announcements? How do you create announcements? What's that? So if you go to format at the bottom of your screen and you see where it says new conversation, if you click on that, you'll see announcement. As soon as you click announcement, the format is automatically changed and you have the ability to type in a headline. I'm going to type in a headline and say, check for update. Right? And I can either set it so everybody can reply, or I can set it so only moderators reply. Really quickly, just see, as we just talked about mentioning the group, you saw Bonnie is in the hypothetical single family housing channel, and she just mentioned the group. So here I have an activity notification, or she just mentioned me. I have a notification that's saying, hey, Bonnie mentioned you, and it tells me exactly where that notification is. So if you click on it, it'll take you exactly to what you're looking for. So here it is, Bonnie asking me, will I be able to share a daily announcement by 2 p.m. So I'm going to mention Bonnie. I'm going to respond to Bonnie and let her know that those announcements are coming up. So if we go back to our team site where we were creating our announcement, you can set it so everyone can reply or only moderators can reply, or you can set it to post in multiple channels. So in this case, we're going to change the color here because I just felt like doing pink today. And we're going to select to post this in a couple of different channels because we want to let everybody know across the organization that, hey, we need you to check the updates. So and notice that you can select, because I am a team owner here, and I am a part of some other different channels. I can select to put that in private channels as well because I am a part of these channels. So I'm going to click update. You see all my channels have been added there. I'm gonna say general. Posting my announcement, please see tab, added tab for updates. Alrighty.
Hey, Roxy, do you mind zooming in just a tad bit so that we can have a better display?
Zooming in.
Just hold control and tap scroll up. There you go.
Is that good? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, a little bit too much. That's good. It's good. Thank you.
It's good. Okay.
And it actually brings up a good point, probably for the audience in general. For anyone who's got some vision, like I wear glasses, so if you want to turn, zoom in, come out, that sort of thing, you can always control plus, control minus, and it'll help you really control what you see. She's going broader in her screen, but it can help you sometimes do quick on-the-fly adjustments from an accessibility standpoint.
That's a great point, Bonnie. Thank you for mentioning that. So I'm going to go ahead and post this here. And there are a couple of things that are going to happen now. Now, with all of the channels that I have selected to post this in, let's go ahead and see. So it's here, we're here. Now you can see this post is across the multiple channels. So if I start clicking on the different channels, you'll see this announcement here. So that's a really great trick when you're trying to post things across the organization, across the different teams and channels that you might be a part of to get the message out there. So it's a really good point. Now, in this case, I am going to mention Bonnie. Oops, typing way too fast, but it brings up a good point because I pressed enter really quickly because I was moving too quickly. So I'm going to edit this message. I was mentioning Bonnie here in the thread. Oh, well, Bonnie's not a part of this Teams channel. Isn't that great? We're going to delete that message. Okay, so we're going to go to general because I want to bring up a good point here. I think Bonnie is part of this one. Yep. So we're going to mention Bonnie now that we have our post. Please check out this file. So now I am going to respond to this post and attach a file. I'm going to upload it from my computer because I want to upload a different file. I don't want to pick one that's already there. So I'm going to add a file now. Alrighty, so now I'm going to press send to let Bonnie know to check out this file. Now that she's checking for weekly updates. So the reason why this is really important and why I wanted to make sure that I added this document here with sharing the file is anytime that you share a file within a Teams site, a Teams channel, this file is going to be stored in SharePoint Online. So as you can see, I shared a PowerPoint here. If you go to files under general, and you will see the PowerPoint here as well. As you can see, I can open this in SharePoint as well. So I'm going to click open in SharePoint. So that's just a really great call out for people to understand that whenever you do share a file within a Teams site or a Teams channel, that's going to be stored in SharePoint. So here you can see the same thing that we see here, right? You see Teams and you see all of the different documents that have been shared within this Teams channel. And when I click on SharePoint, you still see the same documents. So that's going to be where they're stored. Whereas if I were to go into my individual chat, so now I'm in my individual chat, and you can see I have notifications monitoring when Bonnie comes online and when she's not. There's a document here within my individual chat with Bonnie. This document in particular here under files is going to be stored in my OneDrive. So this is going to be stored in OneDrive for Business here in the chat. So whenever you're storing a document in a chat, that's going to be stored in OneDrive. Whenever you're sharing a document within a team site or a channel, that's going to be stored in SharePoint. So here, any changes, because I'm the person who shared this document with Bonnie, any changes that happen in this document, so let's click edit on Teams so we can bring it up. Any changes that are made, they're going to be stored in my OneDrive because I am the person who shared it. So if Bonnie goes in and starts editing and working on this document with me, those changes will be saved in my OneDrive. And if Bonnie wants to have those changes as well on her desktop, she'll have to download this document separately. So I just want to make sure I call that out. Bonnie, anything to add there?
So I'm not sure if you can see where I'm also, I think you can also see where someone else is co-authoring with you for.
Oh yes, sorry, let me go back to it.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, please don't be.
As far as best practices go, right, it's each organization and really teams should probably decide how you all want to navigate together. Sometimes people want to do it where you track changes. Sometimes you want to have conversation outside before you just update the doc. Like I'm in this document on the phase 3 scale, and I could see, oh, she's missing maybe something about what will the reporting cadence be around outcomes. And we could discuss that outside in the actual chat, or I can just do some updates and then, have it track changes within. That's really up for each individual agency to decide, or even team to decide how you want to function. But it's good for the team to have an understanding of how you will work on documents in particular. An inside baseball of this is how we work is often a good thing to do.
That's a great call out, Bonnie. And as you mentioned, as you can see, everyone, I'm in the document that I shared with Bonnie within the chat. I have the chat pulled up to the right-hand side. So if we want to collaborate and work back and forth, let's say we're not on the phone and Bonnie's at her house and she might be listening to music or however she best likes to work, we can sit here and work on this document together in the chat and letting Bonnie know, like, hey, I just put in a new header, or I feel like we need to change the header, and just work on that simultaneously together. The good thing to call out when you are co-authoring documents or collaborating together in one document is that the cursors are always going to be different. So if you have multiple people in one document, let's say there are 5 of us in this document or 6 of us, we're in a group chat, and there's 6 of us in this document, the cursors will be different. So as you can see, I have like the italicized I that I'm moving around. Or right here, every time somebody is adding something, like let's say my cursor may be following me and it may be green, Bonnie's will be red, somebody else's could be pink, somebody else's could be blue. So you don't have to worry about typing on something at the same time, because the AI within the tool will make sure that you don't do that, or you don't make any mistakes in that way. So this is a really good call out for the way that people may like to collaborate or work on things together. So, I mean, we could be in this document and seeing like, Bonnie could have, added something and I may have wanted to lighten the mood. I could add GIFs and just really work at the same time together within the application, not even having to leave it and go to Word. So it's a really, really great call out. I will pause really quickly and see, Marvin, do we have any questions in the chat box that you want me to address live?
At the moment, no, we're good to go.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. So another really, really, really great advanced feature is around Teams. I'm going to go into Teams, and then I want to talk about private channels because I think that's a really good one that a lot of government agencies are just really learning how to leverage and what that really looks like from an advanced perspective. So when you think about creating teams, and some organizations don't restrict the right for users to create teams. So let's say that you are in an organization where you are able to create teams. There are going to be teams that are going to be created within a private capacity and a public capacity. So here, as you can see, when I went to the bottom of my screen and I went to click to join or create a team, I can see within my organization, these are some of the teams that I'm not a part of. These are the teams that I'm not a part of that have been created. There's a Contoso, there's a ticket reporting, there's a District 9 railroad safety. Because these teams are public, I can join them. So if I click the District 9 road safety audit team and click join, I am now a part of that team. And as you can see, it's right here and it's added onto my channels and I'm a part of it and I can see everything that's gone on within this team. Now, the reason why I point that out is when you create a team, you are given an option to make that team private. So for example, we're going to go to this private team here. Under single family housing, if I go to the ellipses, right, and I go to manage the team, let's say that my team is private. This is a private team, and I want people to be able to join the team, but I don't necessarily want to deal with the incoming requests that are going to come to be a part of this team. Like I want people to be able to join on their own. I can go in and create a code. So here you can see there's a code that's associated with this team. So anybody that I send the link to this team site, so where it says get link to team, for example, right? And I go ahead and let's say I send that, what this behavior would look like. I send this link to Bonnie and it says join the conversation. She's already a part of this team right now, but I say join the conversation because that team is private. When Bonnie goes to click the link, it's going to ask her for a code. So let me just go back to where that would be. not channel, sorry, settings. It's Gap. Now, because there is this code associated with this team, as long as they have the code, they will automatically be added into the team as long as they have the code associated. So this is a really good trick that a lot of people usually don't know about, is because you may not always want to manage that. And what that looks like is here under pending requests. I don't have any, but as soon as a pending request pops up, you'll see that it will pop up here if somebody wants to join the team, and you'll see the pending request here. So if I were to, in this case, let's remove Bonnie from this team, right? So I'm just gonna click X and give Bonnie the code to be able to join the team here. Well, I've created a code, so it's not going to pop up as a pending request because she has the code. But if Bonnie didn't have that code and I didn't generate a code, she would be able to just click to request to join the group. And when she clicks to request to join the group, it will then under pending request pop up as, do you want to approve this person? Now let me just show you in another example what that would look like. So I'm going to go to Office 365. All right, and I am going to go down here where it says, so this is what it would normally look like if I don't have a code generated. So here you can say a request has been made to join a private team that you own. I can accept or deny, and then it will populate right here under pending request as well that somebody's trying to join the group. So that's kind of how you bypass that process. If you know exactly who you want to be able to join the group, or you know that you're working on something that is a bit more private, and over time you will need to add some more of your colleagues, you can generate the code and send it to them, and they'll be able to join the private group when they need to, or when you prompt them to, when you send them the link. So that's a really good point that I wanted to call out. Bonnie, anything to add there, or any thoughts, or Marvin, any questions there around that?
Nothing additional.
And nothing additional on my side as well. I'm just answering questions around OneDrive.
Oh, wonderful. Is there anything that you want us, do you want us to address anything on OneDrive?
Around the app mention that you might want to revisit. If you posted an app mention message in chat with an attachment, does the person have to have access to the other attachments, etc.? So when you app mention, what controls do they have? Do they need to be part of the team? Like, they're talking about security boundary.
Okay, within the teams or just a chat?
And I think they asked about both, if I saw it right.
So yeah, let me reiterate. The first one says, if you posted an app message in Teams with an attachment, so you mentioned someone and then included an attachment, does one person, do you have to ensure that everyone has access to permissions to review and edit the SharePoint site? So this is specific for a channel. They app mention with a file in a Teams channel, and then it gets placed into SharePoint that is tied directly to that channel. They're asking if permissions levels need to be adjusted. So when something is, if I may, when something is shared inside a specific channel without restrictions, you're giving everyone who has access to that channel the ability to open that document and make edits. Permission levels can be set at the SharePoint level, either before or after they've been shared. You can open up SharePoint Online and then go into the more options menu for that specific document, where then you can block editing or even block downloads and just make it a read-only file. You can also specify which individuals can access the file. And then the second question was, which I was able to answer, if you posted an app message in a chat with an attachment, does that person have access to other attachments in your OneDrive? So the answer to that is no. No one has access to your OneDrive but you do have the ability to share files that you take an initiative and created in your OneDrive. You want to make sure that you place them in your OneDrive so that you can attach them when in a chat, or you still have the ability to attach OneDrive files in a channel, which then get placed into SharePoint. Thank you.
Thanks for adding clarity there, Marvin. That was really, you explained beautifully. So thank you for adding clarity there. That's awesome. Wonderful. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into private channels because I feel like there are usually a lot of questions, or a lot of people really like to understand, when private channels are beneficial, how to kind of work around them and how to use them. So the good thing to note about private channels, which is a feature that just kind of released, I want to say about a month ago, hasn't been around for very, very long, is it allows you to be able to work in a team site and focus on specific projects and specific things without having to create multiple team sites. So it allows you to kind of manage the channels and who you'd like to see what in the channel. So for example, I'm going to show you the single family housing channel. When you see, the single family housing group, when you see the single family housing group, you have a general tab, right? So I'm going to go under to manage, just to add context. There are about 9 people that are in within this team site, right? So these 9 people are a part of this team site. The important thing to note when you're thinking about private channels are these 9 people may be a part of this team site, but they may not be a part of this channel. So if I go to manage channel, you can see this channel, there's only 2 people privy to. That is myself and an external outside guest. So let's say hypothetically in this case, for some of you who have your own customers or working with contractors on different government projects that your organization may be focusing on, private channels is really going to come in handy here because you can have different channels with different people for different reasons. So here you see I have an external party that works for a different city. And let's say potentially I hypothetically am somebody that works at like housing and urban development. I have an external, this is my customer technically in grants. Let's say that's a scenario. And they work for a city and I need to work with them, but I don't need them to be privy to everything else in the team, or I don't want everybody in the team to be privy to the grants or the things that we're working on here. So as you can see, there are only 2 people, and that's just myself. So this channel will never ever show up for anybody else in the team site. So the 9 people will not be able to see this channel. Only the 2 people that are a part of this channel will ever be able to see it. The same will go for state housing. So this is a channel that focuses specifically on state housing. As you can see, there are 4 people that are part of this team, and those are 4 internal people. So this channel will also never show up for this external person that's in this channel, the other channel that's private. So the good thing to know is that when you are developing private channels and creating private channels, and we'll walk through how to create them, it will not show up for the people that you have not added. So they'll never know that it exists. They'll never see the contents inside of that channel, and they'll never be able to interact within those channels unless the owner physically adds them. So how do you add that? Okay, whenever you click the ellipses on a team site and it says add channel, you click add channel, it's gonna ask you, do you want it to be standard or do you want it to be private? Once you click on private, and let's say we're gonna create another one, and let's say we're gonna create one on Right, so I just created a channel called Grants Tracking. Now it's going to prompt me to be able to add members to this channel because, again, everybody that's in the team site is not always going to be able to see that this channel exists. So I'm going to have to add the people that I want to be able to see it. So now I'm adding Bonnie, I'm going to add Asia, and then I'm maybe going to add Victor, right? So now I have 3 people that are part of that. Once I click add, I can make them, I'm going to make Bonnie an owner because the best practice is really that you always have 2 owners at a time, just in case something happens with one, they go on extended leave, somebody leaves the organization. You just want to make sure that you always have 2 owners at a time, at least. And so now you can see my private channel is created and it's not going to exist for the other people. I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions around that.
There is. So someone asked, can one owner delete another? Which, yes, they can, right? So owners have full rights. You can demote someone. So if Roxy and I are now owners in this team, I could theoretically demote her and then, in fact, remove her from the team, or she could do the same to me. Or if I demoted Roxy, then I could promote Marvin to ultimately be an owner. So what it does do is give both full power over the team itself, which is outstanding in case, people are out, no one person becomes a bottleneck, etc. We do recommend that you try to keep your team ownership to 7 or less, but at least a minimum of 2. So they do have a lot of power. So be selective when you choose who your owners will be, because they can do a lot.
That's a great call, Bonnie. Thank you so much.
While you're in this view, can we also demonstrate one little thing? If you click on the settings tab, there was a question around, where was it? I just had it queued up. Oh, team code.
This is private channels.
Oh,
you go
into the team, please. So we can see she's going to manage team, and then the settings, where it says team code. So if you can just demonstrate the ability to reset that code, just so the person knows where to reset it. So it can be reset if the code gets shared out and you need to change it because you see a sprawl of people joining. You can, what she did is just cancel the code null and continue to regenerate codes if necessary.
So a good example of that might be if you want certain people to join a team for a certain period of time, like, hey, we're taking volunteers to help us plan this this community-facing event, right? And if anyone who's interested can join by Friday at 5 p.m. And then after that point, you can shut it down so where it's invitation only. That might be an example.
It's a really, really great point. So I'm just, so I took away the code. So I'm going to leave this as is and go on back. Before I go back to private channels, are there any questions around it? Do you want me to go deeper into?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Wonderful. Okay. So a really great feature that I'm going to see if I can show you really quickly, because I know private channels is a really good one. It's a really big, it's a really good way to be able to collaborate, especially for a lot of people that focus on a lot of external collaboration. So here, I am going to, hopefully it does not pop up my camera. So say allow. And this is a good way for, let's say you're in a channel and you want to collaborate and you want to be able to meet really quickly. So I'm going to say quick sync. All right, and I'm going to click meet now. So as you can see, I'm going to mute my microphone. As you can see, because I clicked meet now, it initiated a meeting for people to be able to, for anybody in that channel to be able to meet now. So for the external people that you may be working with, because again, we're working in a private channel. So this private channel is only for you and whoever you added. In this case, we added an external person that doesn't work at my organization. It's going to show for them that you're in the meeting now, and they can actually join the meeting as an external participant. So here you see the external person saw that you were meeting in the channel now, and you can see they've joined from their outside organization. So here you see they don't work at the same organization as this person here. See, different email addresses, different domains. So you can see they're a guest, they work at a different organization. And if you wanted to meet now, you can have quick conversation within the chat. So I can say, hey, Send over at City of Bowie in Maryland. Thanks for joining. If we had multiple people and just kind of initiate that chat back and forth, we can chat back and forth. As you can see, messaging back and forth. I want to really quickly go over some things now that we're here from that external lens that we get a lot of questions around. So here you can see we're in the meeting, we met in the channel, we initiated a quick meeting to sync on some things, right? So from the external organization, gonna share screen, right? So the external person is inside of the meeting, hypothetically right now, and they're sharing their screen, right? As you can see, we've clicked Meet Now. The external person that doesn't work in that organization is sharing the screen. A lot of people ask, hey, if you're working with an external person and you have private channels, or if you're adding someone externally into a team site that doesn't work in your organization, what does that look like for them? So here you can see, remember, I titled the meeting Quick Sync on CARES Act. So you can see at the top, that's the title. See where the meeting got started. If you can see in 1 second. Yep. So see, we were in the channel. We started a quick meeting started. You saw that the external person saw that and joined. You see the team at the top. It has one guest that's going to notify. It's a private channel, has the lockbox next to it. As you can see, this is the external person that you added to a private channel. You only see that channel. We don't see state housing. We don't see grants tracker that we created because they're only added to one channel, and that's the private channel that they belong to. The live view of what that looks like, if we go back, see, we've got a couple other teams here, but as you can see, because you didn't add the person to those other teams, it doesn't even exist for them. Also, another important thing to note is this is an external person that doesn't work in my organization. They are not privy to anything else in my organization apart from the team and the channel that they have been added to. So you can see there's nothing else here. There's no other team site. If I click see all teams, this is the only thing that's going to show up because that's the only thing that this external person is privy to within the organization. If you go to chat, you can see this is all that they're privy to, which is the meetings that they've joined, the meetings that they've participated in, which is what this looks like for an external person. So they aren't really privy, well, not really, they're not at all privy to anything else in your environment besides what you have made them or given them permissions around. So if you look at the activity, you can see in the channels that we are in together, they were mentioned here. So they got that notification on the quick sync. You can see that. You can see that they were asked to join a meeting. So for those of you who are working with people at external agencies or external organizations, you can see that you can ask them to join a meeting if you have that feature enabled. So this is around the advanced capabilities of how you can really collaborate, whether that's gov to gov or gov to state and local government or gov to contractor. This is an example of what that collaboration looks like and how they're not privy to any of your data, only what you've made them accessible to. So here you can see at the top, it lets you know that they're a guest. You can see the same features that they're in a call. You can see they're in the guest account. So that's what they're privy to, is the guest account. And you can see they have their own account and their own organization, and they can go back and forth. So if they click on their organization, that they're no longer privy to the team site that you added them to. So that's really important because I think a lot of people ask when it comes to external collaboration, what does that look like and what does it look like on the other side and how does that exactly work? Now, if I go to the actual channel, you can see what true collaboration really looks like. So here, they're in the private channel. We're really working together. So you can see I mentioned them and said, hey, look at the allocation. If we click on the Excel spreadsheet, you see kind of like what we're working on, some of the documents that have been shared that we can really review here together and really work cross-platform. And I think this is also a great example of how Teams works on the mobile client and the experience that you get from the mobile client and how it is really to collaborate with external participants. And one thing I do want to mention really quickly before I ask if there are any questions, you can see at the bottom on the mobile experience, you see the activity, the chat, the teams, same types of features, same types of availabilities. Hold on, if I click, you see pretty much the same Sorry, I'm trying to get this to go away, but I clicked on something. You see the same types of things that you have on the desktop client here on the left-hand side. So this really shows you how to truly leverage Teams on the go if you're able to access it on your phone, or if you want to download it, how you can truly work on things in real time and still be productive. So I will pause and see if we have any questions. But really quickly before, one thing I do want to add too, let me go back to the Teams channel. If we talk about tabs really quickly, where is it? Okay, let's go to general. Yep. So here in general, you can see there's a recording that's a part of this channel, right? And because I'm a guest, I don't work for that this organization. I'm just a guest user that's been added to the team for collaboration purposes. If I click on that recording, you can see access is forbidden for me, because any recording that's posted within a team site or anything that's posted from Microsoft Stream, because I don't work for that organization, I'm not going to be able to see it. So for those of you who are worried about, hey, when I share a meeting recording within the team site and there's an external participant that doesn't work at my organization, they won't be able to access it anyways, because Stream is only accessible to those who work inside of your organization only. It's not going to be accessible to external participants. So I will pause, sorry, because I just threw a whole bunch at you, and see if there are any questions.
I think we've been answering questions in the Q&A.
Okay, wonderful. So as you can see, meeting's over, meeting's ended. We synced within a channel. You can see everything that we kind of posted and chatted about within that channel. So that's a really, really good example of, you know, kind of just collaborating externally and what that looks like to work together. One thing I wanted to turn to is now tabs, right? Because this is really when you get into the how do you like to work? How do you want your environment to look like? How can you truly, truly leverage the tool? So at the top of every team site, you'll see a plus sign, which is what we call tab, and you can add in different things. And next week, I really want to cover Power BI. I really want to get into that as a tab with you guys, because it's really, truly phenomenal and life-changing. So here you can see there are a lot of different tabs that are Microsoft approved tabs that you can add to Teams directly within your team site and your channel. So here you see all these different tabs. If you click on any of them, it will go ahead and add it. In this case, I'm going to show you some that I've already added. So let's say we've done a meeting recording, or we have something posted on Stream and we want to add it to the team as a tab. Here you can see I added nuggets of wisdom because I want everybody within this team site to be able to access this recording. As you can see, here it is. Here's the recording right here. Everybody that's within this team site can access the recording because I added it as a tab. I added it as a tab and they're able to see that. So let me just show you one thing. Oh, apologies there. Let me make that more digestible for you. So we're gonna go to, where are we at? Oh, sorry, wrong one. All right, we're gonna go to Microsoft Stream, because for those of you who are using Teams and who are using the meeting recording feature, you know that any recording that you set in Teams is saved within Microsoft Stream. So that's the back end of the recording, and the media services functionality is coming from Microsoft Stream, which is a separate cloud application that's all integrated into Teams. So this is where your recording is going to live. Whenever you initiate a recording in Teams, it's going to be saved in Stream. So here, if I go to my content, and I like to think of Stream as like a personal YouTube for your organization with great security features and transcription features and language translation and just a bunch of great things that you can be able to do. So for example, let's say, let me just make it real time here. We added this we recorded this meeting. So let's say I worked at BEP, hypothetically, we added this meeting. With Stream, the good thing is that you can go in and you can edit how you want this meeting to look. So for example, that was the morning meeting. You can see the title is different because what we did is that after we went into the actual recording itself, we went in and changed the name. So I changed it to example of external collaboration because I wanted to add it as a tab within a channel. Let's say hypothetically, I can add a description. I can choose whether or not I want this to be accessible to everyone in my company. I can choose the video language if I like and change that. I can, get the link to share it out. So I'm going to just do that for next steps. I can choose whether or not I want comments. So let's say I want comments on and press save. Now you can see completely different name, example of external collaboration. One can post a comment if they want to and say, great video. Can't spell today, video, right? And they can post comments. Now, while this is important, I just copied the link. Now we're gonna add another tab. I'm going to click on Microsoft Stream. That's the link, and here you go, voila. You see that I am posting a video as a tab, and here it is. Now everybody who is in this team site, that's in this channel, can go and just watch this video because I obviously kind of pinned it. They can watch this video really, really easily right here from the team site. So it's a great way to leverage tabs, leverage any videos that you want to add in that you want to make sure that people are seeing, and add it just directly into the team without having to share the link over and over and over again. So I'll pause and see if we have any questions.
Thank you, Rox. I was able to answer some of the questions. There are some that are coming up, Missy.
Oh.
I will bring them up if necessary. I got them.
Okay, awesome, wonderful, thank you. All right, so we also talked about, we just talked about tabs. So let's talk about Planner, because Planner is another really phenomenal and popular tab that a lot of organizations tend to leverage to really manage tasks and just really organize things and keep track of what's going on within the different projects. So what that looked like was on the tab, you see planners here. We clicked on Planner and we titled this Reopening Office Plan. And now you can see we have different buckets. Typically, when you generate a planner, it's always going to be created with a to-do bucket here, which is titled to-do. In this case, I don't really want to leverage that right now. And you can create other buckets as well. So you'll see the tab where it says add new bucket. In this case, I've added a bucket for office employees that we're focusing on some announcements there. Remote employees, we're focusing on some things there. And contractors, focusing on some things there. So what you can do is create tasks. So add tasks. So let's say for office employees, send out Alrighty, and now we're going to assign a due date. We're going to assign that as Friday. We are going to assign that. Let's see if Bonnie's part of that. Okay, we're going to assign that one to Bonnie here and myself. Of assigning myself thing. Now we're going to click add task. Now, if I go in and click on the task, I can add in a bit of specifics, which is going to be really important. And I can also switch the bucket if I needed to. Like, so if I want to move this over to remote employees, I can. So for showmanship, I'm going to move it over and show you what it looks like here. So I'm going to add the progress. We're going to say it's in progress to let everyone know that I started the project. I can also label it. So we're going to label it pink as well. We're going to change the priority to urgent because it's due on Friday. We're going to set the due date. I don't really want to add any notes here, but you can add a checklist. Create materials. Right. And materials to kind of track the progress. Right. And I can add attachment if I want to, a link, a SharePoint, all of that. So now I'm going to exit out of that. So here you can see we started off in office employees. We moved it we moved the bucket and we moved it to remote employees. So now if I go to the charts, see, the reason why it's really important to label those is because it's tracking the progress. So as you can see, there are 3 tasks that are notified as late, and there's one that's in progress, which is the one that we just created here. You can see there are 3 buckets. We have office employees, remote employees, contractors. Under office employees, there's one that's in progress. There's one that's late. And you can see the members that are part of this planner, who are the members that are part of this channel. You can see who has what assigned tasks. So there's one late for Blair. You can see what that is. That's under contractors. There's one late for there's 3 late for Roxy. So you see what those 3 are for Roxy, right? And you can just kind of filter it that way. Now with the labeling, I can filter how I want to see it. So let's filter it by label. Say that I want to see everything under pink, which is why labeling could be important if you like it that way. Now I see there's one under remote employees with the pink filter. So let's say we're going to clear that, right? We're going to go, or I can group it by bucket and see by due date if I want to. So I see that these 3 are late. This is upcoming this week. Another great way that you can view it is by schedule. So I see on Friday, there's 1 due. But if I look back at last month, there were a couple going on the different dates. So on Monday, I saw that there were 2 going on. And the reason why they're red is because they're late. Now, if I change or extend the due date here, so let's click on start date. Move that back to June 17th. As you can see, no longer late. So this is a great way to kind of just manage tasks that are going on, manage different tabs that you can add in, and really just keep track of what's going on within the project or the teams that you're working on if you want to have those specific focuses. So here we have one for policies, for parents, for work from home. So you can just add different things to customize the way that you like to work and the different things that you're working on. The different tabs. We have one for telehealth going on here. And we have a couple projects that we're working on.
And I'll say that one of the ways that I use this is I have a stand-up that's twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, that I run the stand-up directly from the planner task and, update it directly, etc. Some people can kind of use it as like a loose little board to control their teams, but as she said, it's a great way to just keep people on track as well as show where you are. But it's a much lighter lift for kind of some project management. It doesn't have the dependencies and all that, but it is still have a lot of quick values of how you can keep people on task.
It's a really great call out, Bonnie. Planner's been really, the feedback that we've really gotten around Planner when it comes to a lot of government agencies, it's really been great and really productive in terms of working from teams. Because the good thing is a lot of these are separate applications that Microsoft offers. Like if you click here, you can go to Stream individually as a site. You can go to SharePoint individually. You can access OneNote individually. But what Teams really does is help you leverage all of these applications in one place to customize the way that you work so that you don't ever have to leave this place. So here you can see, like, let's, for example, open up this PowerPoint or the PDF. I'll show you the PowerPoint, then we'll go to the PDF. Here you can see we don't have to leave Teams. Like, I don't need to go into PowerPoint separately to open this to look at this. Like, I'm just looking at it right here from Teams. Or if we want to look at a PDF, I don't need to leave to go to my files to then open up this PDF. I can look at it from right here. Marvin, were you going to say something? I saw somebody came off mute.
Bonnie, if that, I was just going to say it's also just the transparency aspect of it too. Whether you're in the planner or you're in a team in particular, everyone has full line of sight. So in some of the examples she showed earlier, she directly mentioned me, but everybody knows that I was asked, right? So knows who's on first, as I like to call it, who's responsible for doing XYZ. Everybody's aware, made aware at the same time, and it's it also reduces your email churn around that. So I don't have to hit a reply all and blow up everybody's email boxes. I can just like and advance those sorts of things. So it's the transparency angle is huge too, whether it be in the planner so everyone knows, or in the team themselves that everyone knows what's happening.
It's a great call out, Bonnie. Do we have any questions that we want to dedicate our last 3 minutes to?
Not at the moment.
Well, there's one on, can you upload emails to a channel? And that's a not yet, not in GCC. Now, sometimes you may see something that's over in a general availability, just not necessarily in GCC. It will come, but it's not there yet. But that'll be one of the quick and easy ways too. And Roxy, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we show cross-channel posting?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because kind of to the person's ask, right? It's a great way to, you can drop, a rich format document into a post and then cross-channel post. It helps you amplify your message quickly and easily. And the good thing too is if you do have any corrections or changes that you want to make, you make it in one place as opposed to the 3, 4, 5 or more places that you post it to. So it just makes life easier in that way as well.
Completely agree. That's the really good part. So I'll show you just really quickly just to bring a visual to that. Is here you can see the weekly updates that we posted, or if you see the travel restrictions, if I go across the different teams, like here I'm in a different teams, it's there. If I go to general here, you see the weekly updates is there because we posted across channels. If I go here, travel restrictions are there because we really focused on, well, this is a new one that I just added myself to. We really focused on posting across the different teams and channels that we're part of. See, yep. Same one here. Under the channels.
A question is here, going back to Planner. Mm-hmm. So someone asked, how do you gauge the 75 or 95% percentage in progress versus complete? Do you have to do you type in a percentage based on your own input? No, that really is, if I have 10 tasks and 7 of those tasks have been completed, then you would be 70%. If it's 9, then it would be 90%. It's a strict mathematical thing. So I hope that gives clarity around that question. If not, feel free to put it in the chat. We'll talk it through.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just go to that so you see what that looks like in live. Yeah, so it only gives you a couple, like to Bonnie's point, you can either select not started, completed, or in progress. And it's not exactly measuring your type of progress. It's just, letting the person or letting the team know for transparency that this is being worked on so that those who are tracking or need to know where their part is or where their role is in it, that it's being worked on. Oh, yeah, the start date is on 6, yep. Any other questions that we want to make sure that we cover? Marvin, any?
No, not at the moment. I'm just answering out loud or answering the Q&A for Teams live event questions. Nothing really specific to the training, but just so everyone knows, I will say this out loud. There's questions around where to find the Q&A reports for when a Teams live event has been held. You just navigate back to your calendar, click on the event itself, where then you should be able to download the attendee report and the Q&A report.
Yeah, that's exactly accurate. Wonderful. Well, if there are no other questions, I will say thank you so very much for spending your Wednesday afternoon with us and joining us for an intermediate training of Teams. Be sure to, if you have time before you hop off, just type some things in the chat box that you'd like to learn about next time, that you'd like to become a bit more familiar with, that gives us a better perspective of how advanced we want to go deeply into our trainings, and what are some topics that we may not be covering that you'd like to hear about. So if you could just drop that in the chat for us, that would be super helpful. But if there are no other questions, we really want to thank you. Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
There's another.
Yeah. Mhm.
What is a wiki and why use a wiki versus OneNote?
That's a really great question. So Wiki and OneNote, I really like to think of as the same, honestly, but in terms of the actual structure of it, they're just a bit of structural differences. So as you can see, each channel is always going to have, sorry, I'm wrong example with private channels, sorry. Each channel is always going to have a wiki associated with it. So it's almost like your built-in OneNote that's already there for you to be able to kind of track what's going on within the teams or notes that you want to take. So for example, here you can see we have COVID updates. It was last updated on 5/14. There are some notes being taken. So it's pretty much the same. It's just that OneDrive, you can access OneNote. I'm sorry, not OneDrive. Sorry, you can access OneNote on your desktop as a separate application. Wiki is built in within the team.
If I may add,
Yeah.
OneNote as well. It's part of the Office 365 suite, which means it has a robust full of tools that you can use for formatting.
Mm-hmm.
The analogy that I like to use for OneNote itself, they're both note-taking sources, right? But for OneNote, I like to look at it as a digital binder. I'm using that analogy because that's what I used back then in high school. And nowadays for school, we don't use binders anymore, but it's like a digital binder. You know how binders have tabs? The tabs are referred to as sections. And within each section, you can have an infinity amount of pages. And one of the best features about it is that it's searchable. You can search within all your notebooks and all your sections for a specific content. And then, as Roxy said, it is available to you as a desktop application as well.
I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you for that.
Awesome. And yeah, I completely agree that the OneNote just gives you a more full set of features, right? The only real advantage of a wiki, right, is that you can directly share that during the course of a meeting in your chat column where it would display, and you could do your meetings directly to the right while you have a larger scale video video image of your actual meeting on the left. That's the only advantage of why to use a wiki versus using OneNote. So it's really just think about it in terms of how you prefer to work, but OneNote definitely has way more rich features.
Yeah. And if you look at the screen, I have OneNote pulled up so you can see there's some different options here and how you can do it. Now, if I go in and open the notebook, there are going to be just a number of different things that I can do that will be a bit more.
Good stuff.
Wonderful. Do we have any other questions?
No, I think that's pretty much it. So again, thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you for joining us, and feel free to drop in the chat any topics that you'd like to see next go around. And thank you for joining. This was a great time. Thank you. Have a wonderful Wednesday.